A single book labeled the Corvair unsafe at any speed and nearly killed it. The shocking truth? Government tests later proved it wasn't dangerous at all. This is the untold story of America's most controversial car. Today, we're exposing how the Chevy Corvair went from Beetle-fighter to 180 horsepower performer before becoming automotive history's biggest scandal. Stay until the end for the surprising truth about what really killed the Corvair. In November of 1911, the Chevrolet Motor Company was established and named after its co-founder, Louis Chevrolet. Together with William C. Durant, he commenced a journey that has spanned over a century in the fiercely competitive automotive sector. Famous Chevy cars such as the 53 Corvette and 69 K5 Blazer contributed to the company's extensive history alongside several other intriguing models. The Corvair serves as just one of those. The 1960s was a period of genuinely extraordinary automobiles. Fans will reminisce about cars such as the Ford Mustang, Pontiac GTO, and Chevrolet Camaro, which were all powerful muscle cars. Bigger is better wasn't the sole philosophy, as compact cars such as the Plymouth Valiant were also gaining popularity. And so the Corvair ultimately became one of the most recognized models in the compact category, albeit not always for particularly positive reasons. In today's video, we'll investigate the model's beginnings, its development over time, and the benefits it provided to buyers as it progressed, along with the disputes that surrounded it and its impact on the evolving automotive market. The budding compact car sector sparked interest in the early 1960s across the United States. Weaker yet more budget-friendly models were gaining significant popularity. As stated by the Saturday Evening Post in October of 1960, quote, "For the initial years since the war, the car manufacturers presented something new besides improved and pricier caviar. They provided beans, and the beans sold extremely well." The Corvair was among the frontrunners in this movement in the United States. It aimed to capitalize on the emergence of a comparable model from a different manufacturer. The Volkswagen Beetle was introduced in the US in 1949, and while it did not achieve instant success, it eventually secured its place firmly in the US throughout the early to mid-1960s. Chevy aimed to grab a piece of the compact car market. Keeping this in consideration, a notion from the 1954 GM Motorama exhibition, a modified fastback Corvette featuring altered exhaust vents referred to as the Chevrolet Corvair, was revisited. The name Corvair was derived from Corvette combined with Bel Air. The subsequent version that turned into the genuine production Corvair originated there. The Beetle rivalry got Chevy started, but just wait until you see how this modest compact transformed into something nobody expected. Even the engineers themselves were shocked by what came next. The definition of a compact car certainly doesn't have to be too precise. It's not a rigid weight category as seen in boxing, but instead a standard. For Chevrolet in 1960, this vision was a vehicle that was affordable yet surpassed the Volkswagen Beetle. To achieve this goal, it aimed to provide additional space, while still being fairly compact. This was evident in the specifications of the first-generation Corvair. The initial 700 series 1960 Corvair provided 80 horsepower and 125 pound-feet of torque, featuring the Chevy Turbo Air 6 140 engine. Everything progressed rapidly following that. In 1962, the Spider Corvair debuted, delivering 150 horsepower thanks to its turbocharger. With the introduction of the second generation of the Corvair in 1965, the family had significantly evolved and expanded in both size and power. This Corvair had a more fashionable design and softer lines, with the headlights being a notable highlight. Chevy also launched models such as the Corvair Corsa and Corvair Monza. The latter represented a more adaptable model available in various setups, whereas the former was the peak of the Corvair. It may reach speeds of 115 miles per hour and generate up to 180 horsepower in its strongest configuration. Those performance numbers were impressive, but the real game changer was under the hood. What you'll learn next about the Corvair's revolutionary engine design is something most car enthusiasts still don't know about today. Enter Edward N. Cole, an innovative figure in the industry. He served as the lead engineer on the Corvette project and significantly impacted the design of the Corvair. He expressed his enthusiasm for the new vehicle. He recounted to Automobile Quarterly in the early 70s as it wasn't merely a compact vehicle designed to satisfy market needs. It aimed to provide something that rivals lacked. According to Cole, its advantages included maneuverability, traction on mud, snow and ice, straightforward steering and braking without power rates, an appealing passenger area, flat fooring, and a lower profile for an attractive design. The model was inherently distinctive in its specific arrangement as well. The air-cooled engine was similar to those used in heavy-duty military vehicles like tanks and planes. Air-cooled engines have become uncommon in vehicles since their requirement for sturdy airflow can make them more susceptible to overheating during operation. Introducing such an engine in the Corvair was a daring decision, yet Cole and his team were not ones to avoid taking risks. After all, if the Beetle had an air-cooled engine from its initial launch in the United States to the 1979 Super Beetle, why couldn't the Corvair? The placement of that engine, however, would lead to some disputes. Cole's engineering brilliance gave the Corvair its edge, but the most controversial part of the story is coming up next, and it changed car safety regulations forever. Now, the first generation Corvair featured a rear engine and a swing axle rear-wheel drive configuration, making it somewhat similar to the Volkswagen Beetle, yet it truly diverged from other comparable US models of that era, such as the Plymouth Valiant. Having this unique characteristic was sure to spark conversations, and regrettably for the Corvair, one of those conversing, or more precisely writing, was Ralph Nader. Nader's publication Unsafe at Any Speed, The Design-In Dangers of the American Automobile, came out in November of 1965. It showcased the Corvair in a not-so-favorable manner. Nader proposed two main points: that the demand for a budget vehicle would lead manufacturers to have priorities that would compel them to lower their engineering standards, and that the rear-engine design led to an inconsistent driving experience. Nader stated that the Corvair distributed between 60% and 63% of its weight on the rear wheels, a concern that he claimed created handling issues significantly beyond those affecting the smaller and lighter rear-engine European vehicles. The book did not specifically target the Corvair. It aimed primarily to emphasize the significance of safety regulations in the automotive sector. It accomplished this, paving the way for the success of the National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act. While discussions have persistently surrounded the actual dangers of the Corvair, Nader's publications undeniably influenced the vehicle's image. Nader's accusations were just the beginning. The final chapter of the Corvair story might surprise you. It's not what most people think, and it reveals the truth about one of America's most misunderstood classics. In November of 2017, a Haggerty Behind the Wheel episode named Will the Corvair Kill You referred to the car as the most controversial automobile in history. Ralph Nader asserted, as detailed by the outlet, that a defect in the rear suspension caused the vehicle to be prone to overturning during sudden maneuvers. An engine located at the rear of a vehicle may increase its susceptibility to these risks. Stability problems may lead to the back swinging forward during sharp turns, especially in older models. As reported by Time in September of 1965, approximately 85 lawsuits related to accidents involving 1960 to 63 Corvairs had been filed by that time. By 1965, the rear suspension system was modified to provide enhanced control, indicating that dangers were mainly linked to the previous model years. However, the sales momentum linked to Unsafe at Any Speed likely played a role in the vehicle's decline. The year 1969 marked the final production of the Corvair, with just 6,000 units of that model year being produced. It was likely the Ford Mustang's success that finally led to the Corvair's downfall rather than Ralph Nader. As Lee Iacocca admitted in the 1984 book Iacocca, an Autobiography, quote, At Ford, we had nothing to present to those contemplating a Monza, yet it was apparent to us that they symbolized an expanding market." End quote. The pony car segment that the Mustang made popular allowed Chevy to create its own blockbuster with the Camaro. Yet the Corvair stands as one of the most unusual vehicles ever produced by General Motors. The Corvair story is one of automotive history's greatest what-ifs. While Ralph Nader's book damaged its reputation, its true legacy lives on in both automotive safety and among collectors who appreciate its innovation. If you enjoyed uncovering the real Corvair story, hit like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which misunderstood classic car you want to see next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the open road.